In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do a crocodile stitch baby blanket, but I'm going to give you more information so you can make any size afghan that you wish. Let's get started right now. Welcome back to the Crochet Crowd as well as yarnspirations.com. I'm your host Mikey. Today we're going to work on the crocodile stitch baby blanket just like so, but today I'm going to be giving you more information so that you can make it in any size that you wish. Now I went a step further as well, is that we have a free pattern available to you, and the guest designer was Leanka, and she is from New York, and she's one of the really leading experts of crochet designs for crocodile stitch. She's known online as BenitaPatterns.com, so if you ever get a chance to take a look at that, it's really quite an awesome, she's a really wonderful designer at that. So today I'm going to be giving you some information to be able to transpose some of this information that we have here so that you can change your yarns. I have figured out 7 other different types of yarns other than Softy Baby to use for this so that you can know how much yarn to get. You should know that the crocodile stitch generally is a bit of a yarn pig. It takes a bit of yarn, well, a lot of yarn really, and basically you want to be prepared for that because it has such a huge thickness to it that you will need more than you probably think. So today I'm going to provide that in more information of this link. I'm also going to provide you some information to be able to make a different size. So I figured out what the stitch counts are so that you can change the sizes of your particular project. Now if you want the baby size, you could just follow the pattern as is, but if you want other sizes, I'm gonna talk about that in just a sec. To keep your afghan in check, or whether you're doing a scarf or any other projects that you would like, maybe even a pillow, you have to keep in mind that there are scales on here, and you will notice that one layer of scales will come out and it will be out on both sides, and the next ones will be jetted in and then out and then in and out and in. So you have to be conscientious of your stitch counts when you start in order to keep it in balance. So today I have figured out for you what that count is. So you'll notice that the stitch diagram is just like so, and so we're gonna start off and you can see that this is the out. So you can see that there is 4 scales in this line, there's only 3 here, and then 4 and then 3. So how do you do it in order to get the stitch count to be proper so that you can change the sizes and not mess around with the whole element that you may end up with a scale that's out of balance, so you might have to go like this. So what that count is today, and I'll provide that more in the information of the video as well, and what you're going to be noticing is that you need to keep everything in groups of 6. So when you go to chain, you go 1 2 3 4 5 6, 1 2 3 4 5 6, 1 2 3 4 5 6, and you keep doing that till you get to the length that you want. At the end of the chain, you're going to want to add 7 more chains. This 7 allows you to have that last scale that's balanced on both sides. So you notice that there will be 6 stitches or 6 chains in between doing a partial and 1 full, partial, 1 full, partial, 1 full. So if you chain in groups of 6 and then add 7 at the end, you will always end up with the same configuration with the scales being in alignment the first time. While we're working on this project, you're gonna notice that we're gonna be doing 2 separate lines. You can see that there are our diagrams are over top of other stuff that we're gonna be doing. So what we have to do is that we have to create the framework, then the scale. Framework, scale, framework, scale. So let's turn these scales around, and this is what it looks like on the back. So you can see here's the framework, and you can see the scales are working on in between each one of the frameworks that you see. So remember how I said that you have an outside one and then inside in, and basically if you look at it you can see how these lines here, this is a scale on the back side, but this is framework that's left empty because the scale's over. So if I put my fingers there and I turn it around, you'll notice there is the scale on the one that I pointed out, and then here's the other, and if you pin it back like this, you can see there is the untouched framework right in there. So when you're looking at this particular pattern, what you're going to be noticing right off the bat is that you can see that we have scales working on one set of framework, but then there's nothing here on this frame. It's empty. So you got framework, no frame, framework, no frame. So when you're going to work on the next one up, and this one you did the framework, this one you're gonna leave empty and do the framework on the on the opposite ones in order to keep the scales looking like it's kind of going up on a diagonal in either direction. So without further ado, let's begin, and you're really gonna want to pay attention to how we start this because that is what's gonna make or break your project. So in the pattern it's calling for size I, a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook today. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm using a 6.0 millimeter, size J today. And I'm doing that so that you can see the stitch work a little bit easier, and I'm using Bernat Super Value for my demonstration. Let's begin to do a slip knot, and if you're following the pattern exactly as what it is, you're going to want to chain 124, and that will still keep it in the balance of the groups of 6 like we talked about. So if you want to make any other size that you want, so let's just do it that way instead because this is about learning today. So we're gonna keep it in groups of 6. Remember, this does not count as 1. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's one set of frame, so there's 2 sets of framework there right now. So let's do it again. So we go 1, 2, 3, and then 4, 4, 5, and 6. There's another group there. So we just want to keep going in groups of 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And I'm gonna do it one more time just for demonstration purposes. I'm gonna do a little sample today. So I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Now remember what I said. Once you have your chain done and you say, okay, that's what I want, you're going to want to chain another 7. So this time we're gonna do 7. So we do this at the very end of the chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So that includes your turning around chain and everything. So let's begin to do the next row up. Let's begin to do our framework now, and this is the framework that we're gonna operate the scales on in the next row, but we need to create this row first. So what we need to do is that we need to count back, and we need to go to the 5th chain from the hook. So let's count back 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Turn that around and get the back hump only, and I want you to double crochet into that same space. Okay, so the same chain, double crochet followed by a chain 1 and then a double crochet into the exact same one, just right like that. Okay, so there we have it, and now we're going to continue to move along. So what we're going to do is we're going to skip 2 chains here and go for the 3rd and do that same thing again. So double crochet, okay, chain 1 and double crochet, same space, and you're gonna do that all the way across. So you notice that there's no chaining in between any of these the V stitches. Don't worry about it. So you're gonna skip 2 more, go to the 3rd, double crochet, chain 1, and double crochet. Continue to do that all the way across your line. I'll meet you back in just a moment. So I'm getting nearly to the end of the line, and simply I have 2 stitches left, which is right, because if you look at the diagram you'll notice that the V stitch goes in, there's 1 empty, and then the last one is simply just going to be a double crochet. So we're just gonna finish this line just like so. So basically you have like the outside, there's a double crochet by itself, you have your framework like so, and then another double crochet which is kind of your chain work, which counts as a double crochet. So this is what it looks like at this point, and now we're ready to do the scales. But it's how you turn this project which makes all the world of difference on how you go from this point forward. So let's turn our project just like so, and I'm improvising as per the pattern just so that you're aware at this particular point. So what I want you to do before you begin this line here is that I want you to chain 1 first, and then I want you to go around this first post. So right around the first post just like so, and just slip stitch. Okay, so just bring it together. And this will give you a better starting point for being able to do this. We're now going to chain 3. So let's just do 1, 2, and 3, and moving down this line, so we're gonna continue to go down this post, turn it so that this is the bottom part, just turn it so it's like this vertical to you, and just continue to double crochet around this post 4 more times. So this is 2, 3, and 4. So with the chaining of 3 that we started with, that actually counts as 5, and so 5 is the magic number. Now when we get all the way to this point here, we want to chain 1 first, and look how I'm turning the project. So I'm gonna go slowly. So I'm looking at it from this point, okay? I'm gonna turn it completely around 180 degrees so that I'm looking at the scale from the front side and I'm looking for the next available post. Okay, so it's actually the same V post but it's on the other side. Do not get confused with this other one which is the starting. Okay, we've kind of made the scale go over top of that starting frame double crochet. So now what I want to do is that I want to start on this scale which is part of that V-stitch, and I want to work from the bottom of it. So this is the bottom. So I want to work from the bottom moving up top of doing 5 double crochets. So what I just do is that I just pinch this double crochet so it's just at the top of the line just like so, and I just immediately start double crocheting, and I do that 5 times moving myself up the project, and you can see that in the diagram as well. So this is 3, 4 and 5. So this is one of the scales that we've gone down, and it doesn't look right yet. Okay, so we've gone down the one post and we've chained 1 and then we've gone up the other post. So what we want to do at this point is that we just immediately skip the next frame. So see how I just moved that scale out of the way? I just kind of turned it. So we skip the next frame here and go to immediately to the next one, and I'm gonna go down this post and up this one. So we just immediately just double crochet at the top side of this, and see how I'm just turning it so I can just access it a lot easier. I'm just kind of pinching it, making it bubble up on top, and I'm just doing 5 double crochets down that post. So that's 3, 4 and 5. Once I have my 5 going down, I chain 1 and then I turn my project around again 180 degrees, and I go for the other post that is right directly part of that same V, and I pinch it and I double crochet myself up 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, so here's now the front. I've got 2 scales in. You'll notice that it's kind of bubbly here. It's kind of really big. Don't worry about that. That's just fine. So we're gonna skip then the next frame that we run into and go to the next one over, and immediately go in, and I just turn it to make it easier for myself, and I double crochet 5 times going down. That's all this is. So this 3, 4 and 5. So once I'm at the bottom, chain 1 first, turn it 180 degrees and get the other one that's right beside it. So it's part of that same V-stitch, and double crochet up. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Okay, so what are we gonna do next? So you can see it from the front side now. So what are you gonna do next? You're gonna skip the next frame and go to the next one over. That's right. And you're gonna double crochet how many times going down? Come on, you can do it. It's 5. So we're gonna go down 5. So that's 3, 4 and 5. And what am I gonna do at the bottom? Well, it needs to bend and turn back up, so I chain 1 first, turn it 180 degrees, get the next post that's right beside it, and double crochet how many times up? That's right, it's 5. Not hard, is it? So because I had you do it in groups of the 6 plus the 7 at the end, or if you followed the pattern, you will end up in the same position that I'm in right now. So you have another frame that you're going to skip, and the last frame is gonna be available to you, and we simply just come into that next last frame and we double crochet going down 5 times. It's 3, 4 and 5. And then what do we do at the bottom? Chain 1, turn it 180, get the other frame. Don't get that outside chain yet. We're not gonna be working with that. So 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And what are we gonna do at the very end of this? Well, just you wait and see, and I'll show you in just a moment. So at the very end you're just gonna see the last one here. This is the turning chain, and all you're just gonna do is just stick your hook into the top of that chain and just slip stitch, and this resets yourself and gets you ready for the next part, and this will make sense in just a moment. So this is just layer number 1, just like you see here, and you can see this. So the next part of the frames are going to sink down in between these, which kind of hides in these particular gaps that you see in this project. So without further ado, let's move on and do the framework for the next layer. So we're about to start the next framework, and this is a little bit of improvisation from what I do. So I'm gonna show you how I do it in order to keep all the stitches really close together, and it could be showing this on the pattern as well. I just don't see it in the diagram, so I'm just gonna show you how I do it and you can make a choice. So I'm going to immediately chain up 3, which is as per the pattern. So 1, 2 and 3. We come into the space that is the first scale on this particular one, and we're going to do a V-stitch. So double crochet, chain 1 and double crochet. And here's where I do the little bit of improvisation. So the next one we're going to do is that we're going to do a V-stitch right here, but what I like to do is that when I stick my hook through, instead of just sticking it through the V-stitch just like so, I like to stick it so that this gapping, this space where the two scales come together, I like to get under there and pull those so that they're part of that same stitch. It brings it a really nice tightness together when you do that. So when you go in, you're gonna go through, but what I just do is that I pick up this space, this right here that is in between the two scales, and I make sure I go around that too. It is a personal preference for myself. Okay, once you get it the first time, it's gonna be in alignment for the second time you go through. So chain 1 and double crochet in again. And what that does is it picks up that scale and makes it sit better together, in my opinion. So here we go. So here's the next scale here, and we're just gonna do a V-stitch. So basically you're V-stitching in between the scale itself and then inside the scale. So here's another one. It's in between two of the scales. So you're gonna go in, and I pick up that one that's in behind as well, secure it into position. Okay, with a double crochet, chain 1, and then I double crochet into that same space. And so when I turn it around, you can see I've gone around that as well. So it really kind of holds that scale in place a lot better, in my opinion. So we're gonna just continue along. So I'm going inside the scale, and I'm just gonna speed up to my regular self. So this time it's in between. I'm going in. I want to pick up that scale. I just use this finger. I don't know the right name for that. I'm gonna use that finger, and I'm just gonna slide this back piece up so that I can capture that section in between the scales. Sorry about that. So here we go, just keeping going along and just going in between the scales again. So we're just creating framework, and we're not gonna use all of the framework. Then we go in, and we just want to make sure that we have everything set and balanced for the next time we go through. We need to carry that framework up like a ladder because we do end up using it in the future as well. So let's get this last scale in. So it's right last one, but we're not quite finished. We have to ensure that we do a double crochet in the top of this chain, which is the very last stitch, just like so. So when we come back, what we're going to do is that we're gonna turn our work, and you can see that here's the scales. You see the scales are sitting a little bit better together. So now we're gonna play in between the scales just right here and here, but we have to start slightly different. So there's basically 4 different lines. You have the scales starting at this level here. You'll have the framework, and then you'll have the scales starting in between, and it's how you get there is the real key. So without further ado, I'm gonna turn it back here, and then I'll show you how I turn it and then get started on the next one. So here we are, we're about to start the next scales, and watch how I turn it. So I'm just gonna turn it normally, but we're not in the right space right now to begin to start doing this because the scales are gonna start and drop down in between these scales right here. So we're a little bit too far over this way. So let's begin first, and we're just gonna slip stitch over to the first double crochet. So go to the next one, just slip stitch and slip stitch right into the chain 1 space, and then we're ready to begin. So I just slip stitch twice. So we're going to be playing within the framework that is existing between the scales this time. So simply what we're just gonna do is we're immediately just going to double crochet into the post, okay, and I'm just, see how I'm just turning it so I can get better access to it, and I'm double crocheting down the post for 5 times. So it's 2, 3, 4, and 5, and once you're down at the bottom you chain 1. Let's turn this 180 degrees and we immediately get the other one that's right here. It's right in front of it. Okay, and we get the other post and we double crochet up 5 times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so once you have that done, you're going to skip this framework, which happens to be in this scale, and we immediately just jump to the next scale. So just coming in and I just turn it so it makes it easier, and I double crochet 5 times going down. That's 2, 3, 4, and 5. Once you're at the bottom, chain 1, turn it 180 degrees and get the other part of that V-stitch, the other post, and double crochet up 5 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, skip the next frame. Okay, you can see how these are just falling in between. Isn't that neat? So we're gonna skip the next frame, go to the one over. It's right in between the 2 scales if you're not following that carefully. So 1. So the manipulation on how you turn your project and how you access that post is the biggest deal on these things. To being able to just be able to visualize it. More people start their scales going in the wrong direction, which then affects everything. So once you go down the one side, come back up the other. Make sure you chain 1 first, but come back up the other for 5 double crochets. So this time, because we're working in between the scales of what's already existing in this particular row, where the scales don't go all the way to the edge, they stop in between this one here, we don't want to go all the way to the edge. So we simply just skip the next frame, coming over. This is the last scale for this particular row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Chain 1 and turn your work 180 and get the other side going up. So the biggest deal is that when you finish this row, you cannot just start the next framework. You have to move yourself over, and I'll show you that in just a sec. So here's your 5. So just like we started when we had to slip stitch ourselves a little bit further in on this side, we have to make sure that when we finish this one, we are going to slip stitch in between the chain 1 space, okay, top of the double crochet and the top of the turning chain. So we have to slip stitch 3 times at the end to bring ourselves back to the outside edge, and I'm gonna get you started on the next row next. So I'm gonna turn our work and I'm gonna get you started on the next row. You already know how to do this, but I'm gonna show you anyway. So we immediately just start chaining up 3. 1, 2, and 3, and we're just going to fill in the spaces. So you see the V-stitch here, just to another V-stitch right in there, and just like my technique I showed you about getting that scale in the next one, just to be in alignment is a good idea. So we're gonna go right in between the scale piece itself. So this is right in the middle of the scale. So this time here is the V-stitch. So I want to go in here and I want to make sure that I'm trapping this scale here. So don't let the scale go down like this. Get it right on top of it so it traps everything in there, and I think it has a better look to it. Okay, so next one is right in between the scales, like in the middle of the scale. Okay, so here's the next V-stitch. So the V-stitch, I want to make sure I get in there, plus I trap it around that other piece in the back. It becomes automatic for you once you get to a certain point. I'm almost forgetting to tell you that, to be honest with you, because I automatically do that. So we're just basically filling in the framework, which makes it a very quick row. Okay, so I'm going in, make sure I'm going around that back framework as well, or the back between the scales. and I do want to go all the way to the end. Okay, just follow the framework, you can see it. So you can see that there's another one right here. So you want to get your V in there as well. And you also want to get this turning chain, so just double crochet in the top of the turning chain before you begin the next scale. So let me turn it around. This is the back side. So this is what it looks like at this point. So you have your outside scales, which are the bottom. The next one are here. So the next one that we're going to do, all the scales will be on this side. It'll be in the middle, middle, and then one on the outside, and I'll show you that in just a moment. Okay, to begin again, what we're just going to do is just slip stitch to the first post, around the post, slip stitch first, and then chain 3. 1, 2, and 3, and just with that same post I want you to double crochet 4 times going down. So, and again, it's how you bend that first post to make it easier for you to see and access. So it's 3, 4, and remember the chaining of 3 counts as one of them. So there's your 5. So chaining of 1, turn it 180 and get to the other side of that same V, and do the 5 going up. So it's 3, 4, and 5. Just like this. We skip the next frame because this scale is sitting in between, so the next scale should be in between. So this will be the framework here. So you're gonna skip this one and immediately just get this next one and go down 5. Hopefully you're understanding this pattern by now. The pattern diagram is available to you as well as the written words, and hopefully that makes sense for you. And this is not a bad project. It'll be a nice quality Afghan or blanket when you're done. It's up to you. You can use the same tutorial to do any other types of crocodile stitching. Maybe you want to do a scarf. You can use the same procedure to do a scarf if you just keep on going. Variegated yarns, it looks really quite amazing as well. So once you get that done, and then just immediately just skip the next frame and go to the next, just like this. And so basically when I go to finish this off, I want to make sure that I'm going to finish off on a scale being the last one available to me, so that basically you don't end up with too much like framework actually being shown within your project, just like this. And this would be how you do a crocodile stitch, and you can use this for making a baby Afghan and much more. Until next time, I'm Mikey on behalf of Yarn Inspirations as well as CrochetCrowd.com. See you.